We're set to witness a Yongbyon nuclear showdown this month. North Korea's major nuke facilities expected to be the primary focus during the second summit between US President Donald Trump and his North Korean counterpart Chairman Kim Jong-un in Vietnam from February 27th to 28th. So it's about time we revisited the Yongbyon complex and how it's been at the center of efforts to end the North's nuclear threat for decades now. I'm Alex Jensen for Korea Now. Around 100 kilometers north of Pyongyang, the Yongbyon facility's most feared capability is that it produced the fissile material for all 6 North Korean nuclear weapon tests to date. While the first of those was in 2006, you can really trace the build-up to 1962, when, amid Soviet cooperation and Cold War tensions, the North opened the Yongbyon Nuclear Scientific Research Center under the direction of founding leader Kim Il-sung. Its existence was declared by Pyongyang in the mid-1980s, when North Korea did initially join the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, opening the way in theory for access to global inspectors, but that wasn't agreed with the International Atomic Energy Agency until 1992, by which time satellite imagery had raised American suspicions the North was on its way to building a nuclear bomb. And here's where hindsight notices a rather familiar picture. That fleeting positive mood coincided with the US suspending military exercises with South Korea, but then the North wouldn't grant international inspectors the access they actually asked for at Yongbyon. With North Korea unloading spent fuel rods from Yongbyon's reactor, apparently to extract plutonium, the situation reached a critical point. The then Clinton administration was even considering airstrikes before Washington and Pyongyang sealed the 1994 agreed framework, a nuclear freeze-for-aid deal reached in Geneva, under which the North would dismantle that aforementioned Yongbyon reactor. Perhaps this month is where we see some kind of updated agreed framework, although history is lined with red flags. Indeed, if pessimists are worried about a lack of progress, they're no doubt drawing on past failures. The agreed framework did last the best part of 9 years, despite difficulties, not helped then by a Republican-dominated Congress. The deal ultimately died as it emerged Pyongyang was secretly laying plans to build a uranium-based bomb. The cycle then repeated. In 2002, the North said it would restart its Yongbyon reactor before abandoning the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Again, crisis preceded a breakthrough, with a new era of negotiations, including a period of inter-Korean cooperation that was the basis for much of what Seoul and Pyongyang are seeking to achieve today, albeit with much tougher sanctions in place. Against that friendlier backdrop, on the nuclear front, 6-party talks involving both Koreas, the US, China, Russia, and Japan led to the North's 2005 agreement to give up all nuclear weapons and existing nuclear programs, which naturally also covered Yongbyon. But obviously that didn't happen, and indeed Yongbyon's capabilities developed to the extent that North Korea was able to conduct a hydrogen bomb test in 2017. So what went wrong? Well, the North carried out its first nuclear test in 2006, as mentioned earlier. We know Pyongyang was upset by US sanctions, but we also know that 6-party talks faced the same old problem of verifying North Korean denuclearization. A further agreement in 2007 even prompted the North to demolish the Yongbyon reactor's cooling tower. But the deal itself also collapsed, and the pattern repeated when another Yongbyon-focused deal failed within weeks of being struck in 2012. Meanwhile, this sprawling complex of more than 390 buildings supporting a reactor, as well as a reprocessing facility and uranium enrichment, continued to develop. Recent satellite images have even pointed to the ongoing development of waterways and buildings at Yongbyon. Yet again, it's hoped, based on last year's promises and the more recent words of US Special Envoy Stephen Biegun, that this month's US-North Korea summit will target shutting down the Yongbyon complex in return for corresponding measures. But what have we learned from history? Well, cooling towers can be rebuilt. Yongbyon will have to open up fully to global inspection. And that's not going to happen without consistent measures from Washington, whether in the form of a peace declaration, aid, and/or a more realistic vision of sanctions relief. Yes, it's true that North Korea's nuclear capability and store of weapons goes beyond Yongbyon. But we may also hope that this complex serves as the beginning and end of the country's nuclear program, and that instead of being the center of a never-ending cycle, history might show its dismantling as the conclusion of a journey beyond failed agreements and broken promises.